in what will be a day that will surely go down in history, at least in this country. We have seen a record turnover. And when we think crypto's bad right now, yeah, XRP's down to $1.77. But others, well, especially the metals market, the dream that I had, the feelings that I've been telling the audience, encouraging the exiting, or at least at the very least, taking profits out of the miners, because silver, gold, metals, they were going to go down 20% in one day, was my fear, especially with silver. And if we get rejected at 100, that $66 level is still on my board for a reason. I still believe we can get down there. And because of how fast we came up, if we don't come back up now with some volume and with some buying intrigue, and something happened out of the London exchange almost to where that they're stopping certain avenues right now. So that whole buying pressure, something changed and broke there. So they're artificially forcing this market to collapse. That's another avenue that we need to discuss. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, $1.4 trillion was wiped out of silver alone, or $1.3 trillion. We've got silver down 14.3%. We've got PLG down 9.3%. We've got platinum down 13.2%. Now I can put my other miners on that I had gotten rid of, because now we can watch them on if they do have a big downturn. Remember, Heckler got the $33, and it's like, that's enough. Bought it at $4, and it was around $30 or wherever it was at. But I started to look at what the market cap would have to be in these miners. And for Fortuna to get to the price target I had, if it was just going to break out with no correction, it would have had a bigger market cap than First Majestic and also Barrick Gold. Well, to put that in perspective, that would be like XRP getting about half of the price of Bitcoin. It's not going to, I mean, it would be more than that. It would be much more than that, but it's to put it in that kind of a realm of comparison. And a lot of these just got way up there, and it was time for them to have some kind of pullback. I'm not going to put them all overblown. I just wanted to see what certain ones that were bigger movers, because it helps me target when they start to bottom out, because now we at least know in a volatile market the big movers, the biggest movers. And we got to put Kinross up here too eventually. But we're not going to focus on the metals. We'll talk some about it, but yeah, it's been a historic drop. There's no doubt about it. Platinum's down today 13.3%. Gold's down 6.4% at 5,033. It's like I said yesterday, is 5,000 going to stay honored? And is silver going to honor $100? Is that going to be the new floor? Are we going to come all the way back through here? And because every asset class, I don't care what it is, and gold, silver, this is an asset class. Yes, it's sound money, but look how far we came up. If the rate of inflation didn't increase that fast in the last year, from silver being at 20-something dollars to all of a sudden 120. There's got to be some even median. Not that I don't think we're going to go well past there in the future. It's just at some point you've got to clear that liquidity so we can have that movement. Same reason I thought crypto was going down. There wasn't a lot of volume. And you know what? It takes guts to call a top and to follow suit. And I always tell people, don't just judge me on what I do in the good times or just in crypto. Judge me in the other markets. Did we not call the bottom in 21 of crypto when I started? Sold the top in 21. Bought the bottom in 23. Sold the top in January of 25. Bought the bottom of the miners in 25. Sold the top in 26. At least the local top. And I don't sell precious metals, so we don't even need to talk about that. The only thing I would do with metals is change out silver for gold. The reason I buy miners is so I can buy more metals when it dumps back down, if I have profit. So, there's a whole philosophy here that I use. And if this plays out the way I think it could, I would drop 20 grand in precious metals from my metals, or from my mining stock portfolio, and be close to 100 grand. Like, that's what I would probably do. Or 16 or 7, whatever. and just go from there next time. It's just every time you do this, it compounds, just like crypto. So we've got a lot to learn. If you want to know more than just about XRP, crypto, this sector, if you want to know all sectors of the market, but starting from a human psychology, market psychology, understanding money, the economy, the savings, everything you should have been taught was never taught or you don't even think about, is what's going to be taught starting on Monday. There's 23 people signed up for the class. It's $49.99 a month. There's 8 classes a month. That's 8 hours of classroom time. I'll be teaching it on Zoom, but you're going to be watching it through YouTube, because otherwise you would have to pay like $40 a month to get the proper storage, to have these saved. It's a whole thing with Zoom. If you're a student, you know. If you're not, you don't understand. So basically, you're going to pay for the classes what you would have just paid on Zoom just to be able to watch the classes and have the storage ability. So this is going to go on for a long time. How many months is this class? Is that what you're asking? Oh, this class could take years. My intention is to have this going indefinitely, and it'll be an ever-growing database. As long as there's 5 people paying for the class, I can justify it. Another thing, I want to thank anybody who's on my Facebook page, got monetized. With 4 hours to go yesterday, we had a historic breakout of 524,000 views yesterday. My followers grown. Already today, I've grown by 106 followers. Almost up to 12,000 now. And yesterday, I was able to monetize this page, and I was able to make $46 yesterday. It looks like I've already made $32 today. So, like I said, this is going to alleviate a lot of pressure from what I don't make on YouTube. And I knew I could do this. I knew exactly what I was doing with how to go viral. I could have did it on YouTube, but I didn't want to make it satire on here as well. So now at least a lot of pressure that I was facing, I'm going to alleviate through ad revenue on Facebook just by posting, stuff that I do. And if you want to support that side of it, please go to my YouTube or my Facebook page. It's at 11,949 followers now. And I put a lot of stuff today, but there's been videos. Yesterday, a bunch of them went viral. Like just the ones today, I put up 100, so it's going to take time. But if we go back, there's so much stuff you guys can see outside of what I do here. Look how much stuff I post. It's insane. That one had actually pretty decent. This one's gone viral. It's got a couple 100,000 views from 21 hours ago. There's been a couple of them, actually. That one's got about 50,000 views. This has over 100,000 views. This one, finally, after 2 days, is starting to get views. All these. Every single thing I post after a couple days is starting to turn. They're pushing my page like no other. So, Yeah, sadly, I can only subscribe on Facebook page. What do you mean, Lucier? I don't know what you mean. Do we learn the metals trade? All traders are the same because they're retail. I said it before and I'll say it again. That was the clearest parable. I even talked about my dream a couple days ago. And when I said that I sold my metals and I had a hard time doing it, and I talked about how I finished selling out B2 gold, like that should have been the dagger. Once that parabolic spike happened with gold, I knew. That was it. That was the final straw. So then I even sold out the little positions, and that's why on PLG I had the stop loss. What was it, 326, 328? Because I knew if it came past that level, even though we made good money, instead of trying to swing there, it was just going to come back down into the 290, if not worse. It just depends. I don't know the baseline for metals. So now we've got a significant opportunity here to see what we do. But I don't think we're done yet, because when that top rotates like that, we fell. I talked about it yesterday. We were in a much larger pattern, and it fell outside of this little bit of a rising wedge. It looked like it was starting. And now 93, it almost came down to, but now we start testing these levels. And yeah, it cleared out in the 4-hourly, but we were significantly overbought. When I say once we start bending, we may have to come all the way back down to $50. It's possible. So, but I really appreciate everybody who's following me on all these different avenues, because that is going to alleviate a lot of pressure on Facebook. I thought about it long and hard because I don't want to change my YouTube channel. I don't want to have any kind of sponsorships. I don't want to have to go outside myself. The classes are one thing, but I don't want to sacrifice this channel. I think we did something unique here, and the ability to give this for free. This isn't going to change what you see every day. I'm just going deeper with anybody who wants to tag along. So, you know, if I could make $50 or $100 a day on Facebook through revenue, oh, it changes everything. It changes everything on how I have to do this. And I can have more time here is the thing. I have such an active mind that I have to do something. Otherwise, you know. Anyhow, let's get off of that. Good morning. 10:23 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday, January 30th, 2026. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. It was -1 degree real temperature when we dropped our son off at school. We're Michiganders. Damn it, we can sit through that for 30 seconds when I dropped him off. GA, great question. Will the class be recorded if we can't make it live? That's why I'm doing it on YouTube, because that feature you would have had to pay if you were doing it through Zoom watching me. But because you're going to be watching me through YouTube, every single one of those is going to have an active database that's built in that section on YouTube for those members. 100%, I've already set it up. Every single hour class will be there. You don't have to be there live. You don't have to be there live. That's why when the database gets built, it's going to have a years-long database, and somebody could literally pay $50 a month or $49.99 a month to support what I do in that regard and watch it and to help me for the time I'm putting in. But they never have to be live. They can go back and watch it a year from now, and there's going to be I'm going to be doing this indefinitely, as long as there's 5 people, because I need to at least have a small group so that I can bounce ideas. And you're teaching, you know, if I'm not teaching, I don't know what to teach once you get way into the advanced sections. For the first 6 months, it's going to be a cakewalk for all of us, because we're all in the same brain frequency. But then we'll start drifting apart, the ones who want to get more advanced and the ones who want to kind of stay in the straight and narrow, which is fine, because when you're in the straight and narrow, then it's different. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. I feel truly, I don't know, 2026 is different, because I don't want to just do it in one avenue. I want to do this with everybody in so many avenues. I want to teach avenues, because none of us, in reality, if I can figure this out on all sides, none of us need to be sitting at a 9 to 5, period. And I almost took a 9 to 5, as you guys know. That's what sprung this new line of thinking the last month and a half. Because I got an offer as an analyst. Well, I got 3 offers I could have picked from this company. One was at Charles Schwab, which is actually reputable, which I was surprised they reached out. But it was either to be a financial analyst, a financial advisor, or a financial planner. And I'm like, what the hell's the difference? Well, one, I would have just been giving the perspective of what the actual market flow is. So like from a charting perspective, I would be in there analyzing what happens in the stock market or whatever market they tell me to look at. The other one, I would have been giving the advice. The other one, I would literally be the salesman, but I would have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and my channel came up about it, because they said, well, you tend to talk bearish and a lot of times, and I don't know, that whole thing came up, and they're like, if we're pushing something, we can't have you with this negative, like the market's gonna fall out, even if it's going to, we have a pitch. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. And that's why I came up with the idea of maybe this is the time I bet on myself, and let's finally do the class. I've been asked for years to do it, but I had to find a way, because I didn't want people paying $49.99 for a class and paying $40 a month just to get Zoom. That's $100. I couldn't do that. So I'm just telling you my story. We're going to talk about where we go from here. I just wanted to tell my story. Didn't hear Millionaire in those positions. What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by that, GA. I just want to make sure what you were talking about. So you can watch and go back and watch. Absolutely, it's going to be there forever. That's why I did it through YouTube, because I was going to do it through Zoom so everybody could have that capability where you'd have to actually watch it on Zoom. But I decided I'm still going to teach it through Zoom. I'm going to pay for the professional teaching, which I already did. I have a bunch set up already. I'm so happy with what I'm doing. But instead of making everybody sign up for Zoom, I figured I would use my YouTube platform, have a separate category so people don't have to. Pay for the Zoom, but they're going to be able to watch it if they're in the Zoom. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not actually recording through Zoom, so I'm going to be able to have the Zoom stuff up as if I was, but you guys are going to be in a loophole watching it through YouTube without having to pay that fee. Oh, the jobs offer. They could have definitely turned into millionaire positions. The one started off at like 135,000 on the spot. So don't think your own independent work can't build a nice work history for you, folks. Yeah, I basically turned down like 135,000 a year, guaranteed, if you guys want to know the truth. So when I say I'm betting on myself, I'm betting on myself. So that's the point. I'm not leaving what I built. It's kind of like somebody who is liking their position. They have a nice position. They might be a great coach, but they get offered a job that pays 2 or 3 times more. But they know if they stay in this position, grow their craft, and they become an independent, they know that they can do better in the long term. That's the point. I knew I had to find another alternative besides YouTube if I was only going to do so much for the classes and not take that. So that's why I had the idea with Facebook. My brother was a perfect sample size. He does it with the weather. He started figuring out the algorithm. I know my shit when it comes to crypto, metals, and all that. I know satire. I know how to put it all together in a true spin, but to make it sound good, put a cherry on top so everybody's happy, and then they fight with each other. I know how to do that. So I just do it on Facebook writings. And in here we bring the positivity. And I want to grow. That's all we're trying to do. So yeah, that's the point. We have to bet on ourselves sometimes. So starting at 135, and that's not including incentives if I were to get people to convert. You guys know the deal when it comes with those kind of anyhow. But that's deeper than that's just what's going on. And it made me open my eyes like, okay, I am good enough for this stuff. I already know I am, but when other people of that category start to reach out to you, it's like, well, you know what? You got to make yourself uncomfortable. That's when I started saying I'm too damn young to get complacent. So I have to make myself uncomfortable to grow. This is what I mean. Holy crap. $50 super chat from Joseph Hoyer. That is unbelievable. Thank you so much for not only being in Tom's Army for over 1 year and being a sponsor of this show with every member you see in here with that emoji badge next to their name, regardless of if they're 1 month or 5 years right now coming up on. They are the independent sponsors of this show, and that's why we're growing and it's adapting in a way that I am so thankful for. Thank you all, the members of Tom's Army, for sponsoring this, and that's why it's ad-free during the lives, unless it's in rerun. I don't show ads. And Dirty Train Rider, thank you for upgrading your membership to the live classes. I believe you're member 24, and now we're going to get deep into these charts, but sometimes you need to hear my story. Especially when there's a lot of, I'm telling you, I don't care if the markets are going up or down. I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm not the market's bitch, and neither should you. Timing the market gives us the time in the market that we so desire. And if we can just do it right, we get one chance at this. Otherwise, you have to start from the bottom again. We don't want to start from the bottom. We don't. I don't. You don't. And if you are right now, it's a lesson. The best lesson I ever had was getting kicked in the teeth over and over and over and over. We have 25 people in the class. We officially had a full class size. Anything else is a cherry on top if you join. Thank you all so much. I was hoping for 5. In my wildest dreams, I was thinking 25 because that's like a normal class. Thank you. I don't even know what to say. Thank you all so much. Mr. Scott, thinking about quitting my job and going into the HVAC business for myself. Kind of, that's a great career right now. That's an unbelievably successful career. And defined. It's because of some of the conversations we had. Remember when you said there's other things I could do without changing what I do on YouTube, like the core, something resonated with me when you said that. So it was around that time a few months ago when you were telling me that. Because I think you could tell the struggle just because of my son and how much it costs. And it's not even that it's just a struggle. It's just you try to keep assets in a place so that you can still grow, but still needing that capital, and then just it's just a lot of things. So it was the way you said it, and I started thinking about it, and then it just so happened that I got reached by that person right around that time. Actually, a couple different corporations, but that was the one that stuck to me because I really, if there was a dream job, it would have been at a place like Charles Schwab or JP Morgan, believe it or not, as an analyst or something like that. But I'm already an analyst, remember? I'm already an analyst for all of you. Independently, I had to remember that. Defined helped me not lose sight of that the whole time. Anyhow, XRP. What is going to happen here? Enough with the story. We actually have to talk reality now. So we started with, okay, we've got this set up. Looks like a bearish pennant. And the one way out of this would have been, let's break back up here. Well, we don't need to look at it. Let's break back up and not have to come through. Well, now that we've come through that layer that we just showed on the other chart, this is fully in place. This $1.69, if this doesn't hold, we have a problem. The technical target here would be about $1.22. That's how you fill this liquidity wick in most of these charts from October 10th. The other problem is if you break that and that's going down to that technical target, that means we did not hold from one of the wicks that started this descending. It confirmed it on this drop on this chart that we're in a descending triangle on this chart. Well, if we break through the other one and we go to the technical target farther down, well, that means we broke down out of the descending triangle. Breaking down out of the descending triangle would bring you right here. And that is a back test of the 7-year consolidation. The 7-year consolidation we were on. That would be the back test. So it's going to be a 70 cents maybe. But we don't know yet. We need to see how we react at $1.68 and $1.56 if we come through. So I don't want to scare anybody. So this morning, what I want you to focus on, but you should be scared because they siphoned. They siphoned. Eventually, we're going to find the reversal. So first thing is, do we get rejected around $1.80? If we do, well, we already know we're in this pattern. The next question is, because we came right down to it, like the charts don't lie. Everybody thinks the charts aren't necessary. If I hear this another time, if only somebody gave me $1 every time somebody said this to me, I'd be a billionaire by now. Hey, Tom, why do you even watch the XRP charts? Bitcoin's all in charge. Well, that's kind of funny. Why do I watch gold and silver when I buy the mining stocks? Because that's who leads the race. If gold and silver is going down, it don't matter how good the miners look, they're going to crash. Just like no matter how good XRP looks, if Bitcoin's shit, it's going to bring this whole market down until it doesn't. So, excuse me. You know, it's one of those things. You want to see the bigger picture, or you want to be enclosed? You want to have the whole story, you want to hear a rumor? Do you want to be the big fish, or do you want to be the little fucking sardine in the bottom of the sea? Getting eaten up by every other big fish coming along. I mean, that's the reality. Do you want to be in charge? Or do you want to have to rely on every Tom, Dick, and Harry on YouTube, Facebook, social media, the news, your government to tell you what to buy, when to sell, where to do it, how to do it? Because let me tell you something. The government told you for years that crypto was shit when it was cheap. And then when it was overpriced, they told you we're going to be the new crypto reserve and to buy it. They told you gold and silver was shit. And the whole trap trade there was, you didn't even need to buy gold and silver. All you had to do was buy the miners. For everybody who says, oh, fuck precious metals, how do you sell them? Good. Well, then don't buy a beat up asset class, a risk on when we're in a risk off environment. Go buy the miners when it was supposed to happen, if that's your philosophy. Have a bigger story to tell. Don't tell the same redundant story of, it doesn't matter. I don't need the charts. It's all manipulated. Well, if that's the case, what the hell are you even doing trading? 5% make money because they put all of that nonsense and they throw it in the garbage. I used to be like that. It doesn't matter. It's manipulated. I'm going to buy it now and I'm going to revenge trade. I'm going to hold it longer than I should on the fear of missing. I don't care about any of that anymore. All I want to know is what the charts tell me. I do it with everything, and I'm not talking about positioning anymore, but you know my stance. I am so liquid right now, it is embarrassing. I am 100% liquid in mining, which is scary. I will never sell a precious metal, though. That's the rule. You want to create capital, but you got to have your sound value. I want to be my own central bank. But crypto, I believe at some point we're going to have an exit rally. What do you mean, Tom? Crypto's just getting started. Well, no, it's not. But this was supposed to be an unregulated market. That's where the collateral came from. That's where the liquidity came from. I don't believe in coincidences. So now that all of the stock market, which is already regulated, which is where big investors can go hide out, now that Bitmine, now that MicroStrategy, which might go into oblivion here soon because he kept buying and his average is close to 80K. But all these companies, the ETFs, you can legitimately own XRP. You can own a lot of the crappier alt tokens. You know, you can own a lot of these things. You can own a lot of these things without even owning these. You can own a lot of these things without even owning them. So, it's just one of those things. Just one of those things. Just one of those things. And when you watch it, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. Well, Almer, it was once said back in, I believe, the 50s or 60s, if we could convince, they said if they could convince people in the world that there was more than two sexes, that the PSYOP was done. It was complete. It was complete, because then we would believe anything. Congratulations, everybody. We have found that place. Holy crap, Chief Mushroom. Not only in Tom's Army for your second month of the Dusty's Autos Crypto News, joins the live classes. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Cannabis Podcast. What about paper silver? And thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year at the I Told You So badge. And also doing your stuff on cannabis on YouTube. But I will encourage you independently. Go to Facebook. Start writing. Use AI. Talk about all the cool stuff with cannabis. Find some groups that actually have people that do stuff. And start posting to the group. It might take a month. Might take 4 years. It took my brother 3 years to push through the algorithm. And now he's averaging like 2-3 million views a week. No joke on Facebook. A week. With his Facebooks, with his weather stuff. But he does his own stuff and he's good at it. But you're good with cannabis. I encourage anybody to do that on Facebook, because the way they pay for writing, if you actually know your stuff, and you got to be an expert. You can't just be some dildo who goes on AI and has to print out every story it tells you, because you have to make a lot of corrections to make it sound good. But I'm gonna preach what I learn, and that's an avenue that I'm learning in the algorithm. And I think for you particularly with what you do, and if you were friends with me on there, I could share your stuff from my page, and I would join these cannabis groups, because I know how to share them now through different groups to get them seen if they're the right groups. They do, but I think it's becoming more accepted on Facebook now. I started looking at it because of you, to be honest. When I started to see what was possible, through this whole algorithm, but they are literally allowing cannabis stuff in here now. The call to cannabis, cannabis freedom. There's so many groups now. I started looking, and there's a lot of, look, cannabis TV, cured by, but you have to go through them. And if you guys are looking, you go through and look. See how there's like no views? No, nothing's happening here. Don't follow that group. I don't care how many people are in there. Public, let's see, 52,000 people. Again, oh, this is a great group. Look at all the comments. Perfect group. So you would join the group. If it asks questions, because you want to make sure it's going to post your stuff. You want to make sure there's a lot of activity here. And I can almost guarantee that I could help push it out there because of what I know with the algorithm. Now, I could almost guarantee it. I could help you with that. Oh, you're my brother. I want to help everybody. Anyhow, we got to keep going, though. That was just a thought of interest. I want this community to grow in a big way. No. The XRP thing, do you own XRP? Do you not? In a way, I'll always own XRP. But the majority of what I did was I had a big abundance when we went down at 36 cents or 38 cents in 2025. I took $5,000 out of a different account and I bought it. And I decided once it went over $3 as it trickled up that I was going to sell all $5,000 of those so that I could kind of do whatever I want. Yeah, so it's a different topic. When I talk about liquidation, I'm not referring to XRP or XRP healthcare. I'm talking about and you can take it however you want, you know, of what you think I'm doing, but I don't want to be the main driver of what you do kind of thing. So, you know, I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I trying to be. I'm just trying to show everybody on the charts what we can do to avoid having to do certain things. So, right now, if we hold $1.69, the next step up would be that $1.80, remember? But there's something, it'd be $1.80, but if we get on top of that, then we could try to ride this back to $1.93. The problem here is we need volume. We need a 4-hour candle to show us like, and look at this ridiculous return rally. That volume is so shit. It's so shit. Excuse me, this is a family-friendly show. It is just on a, well, what's the right word if we're trying to be family-friendly? It is, the volume is the equivalent of the, let's see. It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi in this market. It's a fugazi. It's all a fake shit. I'm sorry. It's all a fake, grotesque, overzealous, overexpanded representation of what this market really is. There's no volume. The volume is epically low. Volume predicts price until if we see one of these candles. And yeah, there's volumeless push-ups, but the volume predicts the price. Do you know how I knew the miners were about to have a bad couple of days? The volume was not picking up on the latest moves. It didn't. The volume, I made my brother look at it realistically. And I said, look at the volume on most of these miners on the back end. And they're still high. But when this rally was starting, you had weeklies where it should have, when it was breaking out, these weekly candles, if you break them down, it looks green, but it shouldn't have been mixed with so much. Like it shouldn't, the volatility, we should have had a candle here that spiked. Like, I mean, spike. And some of them are a bad example because they were still showing some promise. But we shouldn't have been seeing overzealous red candles like that. Typically, when you're having dump downs, you want the red to be low. Like when we were up high, we didn't want to see this. We wanted to see high candles and like low candles like this just emerging. And then back to high. And then when a red came, it was low. Instead, we started seeing overzealous red candles that were actually overtaking the volume of the green candles right after they were coming in. Or we were staying the same in pricing, which is a #1 giveaway. When the miners aren't moving with the price of the metals, we're topping. We're just waiting for that blow off the top. And I believe that 121 to silver and what was it, 5,600 plus to gold was the blow off the top. We're down better than 12% on gold from that blow off. We're down 20 something percent on silver. So it's an unbelievable thing. So if anybody ever wants to join Tom's Army, Just simply from the money you've saved from these drops or the money you've made from the move ups before you were able to take your money back. Like, I think what we do here is different. I'm not charging anybody anything to learn this stuff unless you want to go deeper with what I'm trying to do next. Grab a long hold bag of Alchemy Pay or XDC. Oh, I'm taking actually on this drop down. Secretly, Alchemy Pays in my plans. It's just not part of the Triple X Ha. There's only 2 of them I can say are part of the plan that I don't talk about. That's one of them. The other one, depending on how cheap it gets, it's not even covered because it is part of the Triple X High. You just have to add an A. Remember ADA? But depending on how cheap all of this gets is depending on... I've got 35,000 roughly of liquid capital that I'm willing to implore in this market that I'm going to keep in there. So that's my plan this time around. The first time you guys watched me, I had about 5 grand in it. The second time you guys watched me do this, we had about 10 grand in it. This time around, we'd have 35 in it. So, and that's not, that wouldn't be counting XRP though. So, I'm talking about what I have for things outside of XRP is 35,000. So, I also don't believe XRP is going to be the big move next time. I believe it's kind of a syndicate. I'm still going to own it, but I'm saying I believe it's a deceiver coin when we go to the next phase. And it was the deceiver coin in this phase, like I said, because it was going to give everybody the hope that we were going to make these big runs. But when everything else has dumped down, it might be flipping zeros. XRP is still going to be above where it was at in the 23 low. Or the 25 breakout. So, or the 24 breakout. That's the difference. Elmer, we're acting like just another day of TA, nothing wrong, but what the heck happened? Why are we all... Bro, my friend Elmer, I've been telling you this was going to happen for weeks. Especially this last week, I put everybody in danger. High alert. That's why my views were going down on YouTube. It's not... You got to take your mind off the fact that it could be a tweet. Remember, those things happen based on the market structure. They know what's happening, so... They put it out at that exact time. They put it out at that exact time for a reason. They know what the market's going to do, and then they just, it makes it look like it's because Trump said something, or because the Democrat or Republican or some event happened. It's built into the charts, tell us what's going to happen. Okay, everybody says nobody could predict it with gold, silver, crypto. I just did it with every market in real freaking time, and I warned everybody about exactly what was going to happen in the miners and gold and silver. Talk about the 20% drop in one calendar day. It's actually happened with silver right now. It just got split up from 6 p.m. It's down like 20-something% in the last 24 hours. And this is nothing yet, because if this doesn't hold at 5K for gold and 100 for silver, we're going down another 30% in silver, easy. And gold's going to come back and retest at probably, in my opinion, like 3,800 it could retest if this breaks back. In the short term, we have to come back, in my opinion, and look where I drew this out. Remember when I drew the line across and said, as long as we hold this line, that could be the end of this, and then we could break past? I know the levels of order books and liquidity. I know what I'm talking about. Notice how it bounced right on there. Now it's giving you your last-ditch effort. Because if it breaks that, it knows it has to come to 4,600. If it breaks that, it knows we have to come to the uptrend at 4. If it breaks that, then we have to come all the way back to the real uptrend. Like, it could be a real freaking nightmare if this happens. Because the paper markets still fuck us over. Nobody ever pays attention to that. It really does. The paper markets will, for infinity, until they completely crack, which the false illusion here was is that they were cracking. It's never been more sound because they're using it right now to pull it down. So, they always act like all this stuff. But in real time, if you're watching, it's crazy. I don't know if it's going to go to 47, Soldier. I was just saying. Silver, I have my zones on silver, but I know if this doesn't hold at 93, that's where the real problem starts. That's why I kept that there. As long as 93.61 holds, okay. But if that ever cracks, we got a problem. Because then it's layered out, and I already have it. There's 82, There's 69 or 66 at that point. It would be 66, probably not 69. Because then we go back and remember the liquidity area we talked about. We tapped it once. So you'd have to go down there. If that doesn't hold, you have all-time retest. You know, like, do we back test that historic breakout? Is this a fostering an illusion to tap? I said it a couple weeks ago and I meant it. The reason why they wanted everybody to buy silver when it was that high, and they started talking about it like it was the supply shock. Why all of that was finally talked about. It was the supply shock that brought it up from $20, but to bring it to one, they had to do that because look what happened. They took out a whole segment of society now who went out and bought silver at 110, 120, 100. They took you out of capital. That's the intent here. Don't look here, look there. It happens every single time. Once they started talking about it and they were acting like you should buy gold and silver, JP Morgan was coming out, Ray Dalio, all these people finally started coming out and saying, oh, we need to convert more money. And I like Ray Dalio, but he underestimated it in the beginning and overplayed it at the end, just like they always do. So, it's like literally, MQ exactly. We have been talking about this for so long. I talked about this happening in one day. I laid the blueprint, and I always look like an asshole, and MQ knows because he looks like 1-2 now because, and no offense, you got to be on the same page with me, MQ. I'm not going down this plank alone. Because we give you the information. It could be days and weeks before it plays out. But we're giving you the vision before it has the blow off the top so you can make the decision in the moment. That's all I ever try to do for myself even. That's why I'd rather sell a shoulder than a head. I don't want to be part of the blow off the top if I can avoid it. Because a lot of times on the blow off the top, the actual assets that go around the other things, they move faster. Right now, the metals, they're in a make it or break it spot here. If it goes any farther with these metals, they're going to crash double right now. You're going to see Hecla down 20% in one day. First Majestic down 15, 20%. Fortuna 15, 20. It's going to be the same story. Oh, we might not see $2 until we get closer to midterms, which is, man, we talked about this yesterday, and I told everybody, this is your out when it retests here. If you don't want to be part of this next move down with metals, I said it yesterday. I kept saying it. You can go back and watch the live. That and we even talked about the area it should go back up and hit for silver, and it hit it perfectly. Same with gold. It hit those areas perfectly for a perfect. We're in a spot now. It's going to be up to this market now if they're really going to drop it 25% in one day, or they're going to have a carry back up. And sometimes it's simply you have to look at the valuation. The gold-silver ratio, I said it, that it would hit my mark and that it should go up, but I said it's not going to be because gold and silver is going to keep railing if this happens. Silver is just going to fall way faster than gold. And it hit it perfect. Like that hit that target that I put out there in the Silver Stacker videos years ago. It hit it. And had I have known where it was actually going to break down, I would have hit it perfectly. But I had to act like it was going to come way out here because I didn't know. Because I did it years ago. So now we see. This is where we actually see nothing's been set in stone yet. All we know right now is we're in a very heavy correction, but anything under $100 for silver is very bearish right now. Anything under $5,000 for gold, oh, we're above it, which is good. We're being supported. So this is where you don't want to be in no man's land. As far as metal or crypto, it's the same thing. We don't know where the baseline is, so the best opportunity in a bear market is to be on the sidelines. If you want to swing trade with me, go for it. I'm not telling you to do leverage because I don't personally like leverage, but I don't mind doing a swing trade. And I said it a couple days ago when I did a swing for the amount of money I had in it to only make $400 or whatever it was. And then I had to realize only $400, someone's making that in the whole week. I used to be that person, not at the time. So we gotta stop talking like that. It was 2 point something%, but it ended up being, a decent amount of money, actually, now that I think about it. It ended up being closer to $500 after the fees. For a 2-day trade or whatever, a day and a half, I should be counting my lucky stars. And then I was able to get out before the drop. I gotta let my kitty in. It's cold out. Come here, you silly cat. It's cold out there. Come here, you want some food? I'm sure you're hungry. Sitting out there in minus. Actually, yeah, you're right. It's 2 degrees. There you go. All right. Here we go. So, continuing. $1.75 for XRP. So yeah, we haven't really gained anything. I haven't seen any kind of volume. I haven't got alerted to any kind of volume. This just looks like shit. This looks like horse manure right now. And if people are going to unfollow, it's fine. I lost 150 followers 2 days ago. Believe it or not. 150 followers. I'm not even joking. 150 followers between 106 maybe. I think it was over 100. Got some bad exit comments to me as well, but that's okay. People thought that I was overhyping the fact that some people got mad because of the metals I said was going to melt down. Some people got mad because I talked about the lower levels for crypto, whatever. But I've already seen today and yesterday after that happened, because we were down to 49,470 something. Now we're back over 49,600, it says when I look here. So the megaphone pattern's still valid. The megaphone pattern would bring us down. It could bring us all the way down into the $1.45, depending on how long it takes. But it's absolutely valid. 100%. We could come down to $1.56 and hold. That's why I keep looking at that area. If this can hold, not this one. If the $1.56 can hold, that there's also some value there. There's value because there's a couple different things that say it can hold there. I don't know if we're going to get a rally before that. It certainly doesn't look like it. Look at that sell volume in the 3. It looks like shit. That just pulled into a bearish doji now in the 3 hourly. Could it right the ship in the next couple hours? It could, but right now it doesn't look very good. Maybe it is who knows? That just, the volume isn't helping. We need some volume. Look at, and the other thing is, when you want a secret, the stochastic RSI, when it's going up that quickly, it's exhausting itself. It means that it's basically done all it can do in the area. And it just overextends itself. When it does it that quickly, it's a problem. Like, look how fast it rotated up. We barely even moved, and we're already that overbought in the hourly, or the 45. In the hourly, it's already that overbought, and it's barely moved. 2 hourlies already come up that far. It's craziness. It shouldn't be moving that quickly. Like, I mean, it's playing around in no man's land, and the fact that it's oversold is actually a bad thing right now in the short term. There's no pressure. There's no pressure right now. But money rotates. Right now, we're in the in-between because you don't know with metals right now. You don't know if the miners are going to push out the rest of the way. You just don't know. PLG, believe it or not, is getting closer to my support structure I was talking about. That's at 258. If it gets down there and doesn't break, that's one thing. If it gets down there and breaks, it could come all the way to $1.37. And that's not a joke. I firmly believe that. And if it goes down there into those levels, I'm telling you right now, we're going to make so much money in that sector again. You just got to be patient. If it doesn't ever go back there, it never goes back there, and we never risk it. But if we get down into certain levels, just like I said in 25 when it finally got down there in the miners, I'll wait as long as I have to, but once it gets there, I'm not waiting anymore. I'll wait as long as I have to. Once it gets there, I won't be waiting anymore, and you'll be the first to know. Oh, I know, MQ. Don't I know? Don't I know? Retail thinks since metals drop, crypto has to go up, especially since it's been red and getting redder. Yeah, the only problem with that is, and you understand it, but retail doesn't understand this. It's a risk asset. Certain parameters need to be met. So that's why it was so easy. Remember when we said the best case scenario would be metals would be dumping out for risk, but at the same time, cryptocurrency would be crashing. because it's going down to where it needs to go for it to be viable. Right now, there's no... Who's got money to buy this shit? Think about it. Where's the money going, Poppy Lou? That's a great question. I would say one answer, oil, has been sucking up some of it. Actually, the the actual by the barrels. And it's also been going, believe it or not, energy, gas. That's up like 60% or 70% as the cold swept through. Oh, money finds yield. It absolutely exited into that market. Go look what happened in those markets. That's where it went. That's where it went. Or they took the easy route. They knew they were going to raise the bonds, and they put some money into the bonds, and they took the increase, even though it shouldn't have been going up like this, and they know it's going to, there's many different things. There's many areas that could have went. But I'm telling you, another avenue that I keep watching are the ETFs, but we have no baseline, for how low it can go. But that XRPN, that at some point, I believe, in disguise, that's the Ripple IPO. That's going to be, the Ashish guy, the same guy who was part of Ripple, who was going to do the IPO, left all of a sudden and has these billions of dollars, and then he's the head of this. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences, and I actually posted about this. If you ever want to look and see some other stuff besides what I do, not a lot of people looked at that because people like the easy reads. They don't want to see stuff that they got to think about. This was one of my favorite ones, even though it did pretty good, 20-something thousand views. Not a lot of reactions. I don't even care about the reactions. I just need people to see it. This one just keeps going. Now it's up to 420. Wow. Anyhow, where was this post at? Oh, yeah, this was crazy. There was that leverage trader that everybody said had the inside info, and we said that it was just a trap. He got completely liquidated of 190 million in 72 hours. Where is this damn post at? I post so much shit. It's got, right here. Not a lot, it got 48 likes. That means it probably went through and got 10, 20, 30,000 views. If people are actually liking it. Because it also gets seen in the... Anyhow, I talked about it, but the guy's name is... Where the fuck's his name? Ashish something. Ashish Burla. So I said the shit, and this is just my own conspiracy. I would hate to share this on this channel. I don't want people to get mad. There's 3 different ones. So you can look at this as one big IPO if you want. The one is the warrants. The one is just... But anyhow. So the Shadow Ripple IPO is already trading on NASDAQ. Stop waiting for the Ripple IPO date that might never come. The institutional insiders have already made their move. While the retail crowd is watching the charts, Wall Street is quietly buying XRPN. Here's the secret nobody is talking about. The ticker XRPN, formerly Armada, is officially live. And there's information about when this should happen. It's the public face of Evernorth, and it's led by Ashish Burla. Why does that name matter? Burla wasn't just an employee. He was a 10-year veteran and the guy who built Ripple's institutional product. He didn't quit. He went out and built a mess of $1 billion XRP treasury that's now sitting right on the NASDAQ. It's live. You can literally pull up XRPN. They hold over 388 million XRP. Their strategy is not just holding XRP like an ETF. They are using it for DeFi yield and institutional lending to grow their holdings every single day. The play is that the market is acting like this is just another SPAC, but this is the Shadow Ripple IPO. It gives Wall Street a regulated way to bet on XRP adoption without the Ripple brand name drama. Is XRPN the sleeper play of 2026, or is the market still sleeping on Burla Ripple connection? And I'm serious about that. Because I've been talking about this. What is the real draw for institutions to be in the crypto market when it's going to be regulated if they've got all these other options that they actually make more on the days it gets gained? You don't want to hear my absolute lowest projection. Oh, you don't want to hear that. Now we're talking about taking out the 2020 low and going back to a level that was never tapped. I have it on a chart. I just don't like to go down there because I've already got enough people that unfollow. 2.3 cents. Did I say that? I'm serious. The spot markets, unless you are actually buying at the right time, are becoming shit. Everybody's begging for regulation. You're never going to get rich unless you have to. You got to play the same game I play. You got to play the same game MQ plays. You got to play the same game that every person who understands the charts play and who understand what it means. We are literally dying in this market. It's getting killed. And then when everybody's down 90%, retail has no more money to keep buying the dip. It'll finally be the dip. And then I'll buy. In the bear market, we've been in it for so long. It's been in it for so long. That's the scary part. We literally started a bear market in January of 25 and nobody really acknowledged it. I did. And historically, the crypto bear market's 2 to 3 years with some kind of big run, about 2 years in or a year and a half in, which is why I think if it all lines back up, we're going to hit a run here mid-year or wherever that spot is. We don't know. It could be sooner. It could be later. But I think when we go into midterms, end of the year, because they're doing all these seats for the Democrats and Republicans, I think because they all guaranteed crypto to be good, everybody's going to get all excited about a 500% rally. The problem is it's going to be down 75% when that rally starts from where they thought it was going to start from. So now when we go up 500%, some of us, like me and some others in this community, are going to be very happy. But most people for the 5X, they're still going to be down 30% from the top. That's the trick of this game. What if XRP actually, or if XRP made a new high at $4, it went 500%, but it had to come back from 80 cents? That's what I mean. So we all have an opportunity here if we acknowledge what is in front of us. But we also have a even bigger opportunity to lose a lot of money. The farther down it goes, the better. And look, Algo was a classic case of what they do. Went on this little run, has an inverse head and shoulders, bounces out to 1270 and immediately comes outside that bearish consolidation, flat support, downtrending resistance, actually cleared and formed a descending triangle in real time, it looks like. And if that's the case from the back end, we're not talking about the overall, we're talking about just the back end. That's how you get the 9.5 roughly. If that actually formed a descending triangle, look how they brought it up right at the end. And now it's basically on the support. If it gets rejected here, crypto's got another 10% from here, at least, if these get rejected. Now, if we go back up from here, we could have a relief rally like we always do. But this is where it's at. Absolutely, MQ. That's why I preface it with the metals. As long as, and you can stay below it for a minute. But silver's going to have to use, at worst, probably $80 as the max support level if we want to stay in this parabolic zone. As long as it stays over $50, $55, it's still within a nice bullish structure and back test. It's just we're in a bear market and we're going to have to break back out of it. Silver, believe it or not, is actually in bear market territory. It's so crazy to say it at $97, but it's officially out of correction territory. From the top, silver right now is in a bear market. It's down better than 20%. It just entered bear market territory. If it gets to 30%, we're in bona fide bear market. We're actually in the test right now to see if it's actually a bear market. Perfectly at 20%. Leverage gets a bad name because of 20 to 50. It does, but also, you got to remember, MQ, not everybody has a strong mindset. Some people, when they get into the gambler mindset, they cannot control themselves. And then they forget how to be an investor. I don't believe anybody should be gambling if they don't know how to invest. And whether it's 2, 3, 5, 10, it's still a gamble. I've seen the market go down 50%. We've seen it go down 65% in minutes in October. So, yeah, lower leverage is also safer, but it's not safe. It's still a risk. It's going to take an obscene liquidation, yes. But how many people do you think who took out a 5X on, The digital silver, what is it, XAU? How many people do you think, if they were on 5X, they would have got liquidated from the top at 120? They're liquidated. And that's only 5X. And it's on silver, remember, a store of value. Even a store of value can have an unethical run. It does it every about 10 years or so. It just goes higher every time. And then it collapses. And then the next time it goes high. So I agree with you. It does get a bad name. And if you understand what you're doing, you should never get liquidated because you would have parameters and you wouldn't buy it in certain levels. And for somebody to get liquidated, they would have had to completely ignore the fact it was in a rising wedge, which we talked about, that it was building it, and then it solidified it with that move up, that blow off the top. But yeah, I keep looking at XDC. I know somebody brought it up. I'm looking at XDC as a guiding stone. Because right now it hasn't come down any farther. But by what it did, it actually built the ability to come farther now. My only question is, was it going to back test this little breakdown? But with the volume right now on the push up, it's almost setting up another pull down, which the next area for XDC is going to be interesting. Now we get into the shitstorm areas. Are we holding what is going to be a very extended, expanding, broadening wedge, it looks like, kind of? Or is this just, it's just over and we're going to two, like, if we're resetting these entire structures, it's going to be a problem. Because if we reset structures, does that mean we go lower than where it started? Like, does XDC hold 2-2 again on this movement if it came way down there? Or is it going to reset completely? And this whole market's going to start, you know, in a different fashion. Crypto Cooter said you can have amazing technicals but terrible trading psychology and still get steamrolled. Happens all the time. Many of the greatest technical people that can read are spending the most hours at the office because they just can't get it right from an emotion standpoint or a psychology standpoint. Because not every structure is the same build. Not every inverse head and shoulders. Remember, they had big inverse head and shoulders we were building up in the micro time frames. And I said, I don't believe XDC is an outlier. I think everything else is setting up that same fake one. You know, and then it just, that's what it did. Because it always tries to trick you. You got to follow more. You reset FDR 100 years ago. Absolutely. You know, when they say it's the greatest transfer of wealth in history, sometimes people get it wrong. They think the transfer of wealth only happens on the way up. That's true if you bought it before the run, but most of the transfer of wealth, it happens when people buy a top and then they literally piss it away. The rich people really, I mean, one way or the other, a few million, billion, whatever, they've already got billions and millions. It helps, but they don't really feel it even if they lose a particular amount. But retail, if you lose that investment, you're done. We don't have that overhead capital. Look at PLG now, 13.6. All of a sudden, First Majestic almost up to 10. Hekla's almost up to 9. Hekla's down $10. 30%, guys. From when I sold it. Well, not from when I did. I sold it at 30. From when I sold it, it's already down 22.2%. And I wrote it from $4.30. And I finally said at 30, I'm like, I can't do it. And it still went up higher. I sold it over here, and it had a couple days when it went right past what I sold it for and went up to 34. No joke. It's down 30% from the top. And we're just getting started, I think. I have a $10.94 area that if it needs to come way down there, that's where it's going to come. Because that's the breakout of this parabolic move. And maybe now that could be the new level around $10 instead of 2 or 3 when this whole thing started. This had to happen. This whole market was overvalued. And the problem is like Fortuna couldn't go up to some of the levels we were seeing because it would have been, and I talked about it yesterday even, before this drop, or 2 days ago. It would have been valued more than First Majestic or Barrick Gold. You can't have that happen. It'd be like saying that XRP is going to be, you know, a higher price than Ethereum. That can't happen. There's no way. Unless Ethereum collapses to zero, there's too many tokens. Now, by market cap, maybe one day it'll catch up, but not by price. It's two different things. The same thing that keeps XRP down at times is the same thing that keeps some of the smaller miners down. Or some of the heavier ones, they can only go so far. But look, now all of a sudden, I mean, my dream was spot on. Absolutely, Crypto Cooter. That's why, do you think that they would tell you what's actually going to happen? There was times. There was times. There's times for all of this, but when the time's over, I've talked about it with the miners. When it's over, when I say to get the hell out, you get the hell out. Because when I told you to get the hell in, you get the hell in. If you were listening to me when to buy, why wouldn't you listen to me when I said to sell? I was riding it for so long, and when I finally said it, I've had enough. When you're going to bed at night and you're like, am I going to lose $20,000 when I go to bed? Some people are like, well, I didn't lose it. I only started with 5,000 or 10 or what I was hearing is you invested 45 or whatever. If it went from 116 to 90, you're still up 45,000. Yeah, but that means I physically lost almost $25,000. Yeah, I lost it. I had it. It was on paper. I literally had it. I can't live with that. I'm not in the position where I can just throw away 25 grand. It don't matter whether it's crypto or anything else. I'm not in that position. Gold is going to go to stupid levels. Oh, these are going to end up at a very, very big way. But, you know, as well as I do, MQ, the liquidity has to be filled and retail fills it. What better way to get retail in to hold in the bag? Remember that this is... I said it yesterday even that I was so scared for the people who missed out on the way up and then they just bought it because it had that historic rally. I never seen more people talk about gold, silver, and mining stocks is why I had 2 feet out the door before anybody really had 1 foot in the walkway. They weren't even at the door yet and I was already leaving. That's why I always say I'd rather leave on a shoulder than a head because the head is when all of retail is getting in. The shoulders are the safe exits. But I don't sell physical metals though. The only thing I look at for that is if I can trade, gold to silver, but I didn't do any of that yet. It didn't get to where I wanted. So, that's why I trade miners, the miners, because then everything I could have made in the precious metals, if it goes back down, oh man, in most time, like I made more in miners than I would have if I would have just put it in the metal. Silver made it a little interesting though from where it came up from. That would be the deviant. I could have just invested in straight paper silver instead of the miners, but then again, I was getting paid dividends in the miners, so it's a whole different thing. I see all these commercials on television now encouraging people to buy gold. That's the big problem, red flag. Just like they're all telling you to open up. Oh man. They want you to buy paper silver, basically, and they want you to gold to put it into your retirement. Not all of them will give you it on demand. But William, welcome in. And I missed your prayer yesterday, and I apologize for that. I seen it when I watched it back. There was just so much going on that, Remember what I showed you guys a few days ago, even before all this started dropping even more with the metals. And before crypto reversed back down, I showed you the periods when to make money. 26, it says, is a B year of good times, high price, and the time to sell stock and values of all kind. And if we're really going down the stink hole right now in the U.S., that means emerging markets, they might have done good last year, but they are going to continue to do good. Emerging markets are untalked about. I think by the end of 26, retail is going to start talking emerging markets. Then we'll have to have this discussion at the end of 26. Do we rotate into something else? But we're at a very interesting spot in history. I mean, I can't say it anymore. It looks like we've got 6 years of down, but there's going to be different bouts of different things that do rise. But that means you've literally got that 6-year stretch where we're in the C years now. Once 26 hits, now we're heading back down to the C years. And in the C years, which are those 6-year period, the years of hard times, low price, and a good time to buy stocks, corner lots, goods, etc., and hold till the boom reaches the years of good times, then unload. The fortunate thing is when we go up the next time, it says from 2032 or 2020 or 32. We got 2 years up to 34, but we're not stopping. We're going right back up to 2035, which would be 16 years in between the 2019 top, right before the pandemic or at the pandemic, which leads you to believe something bad is going to happen there. And something catastrophic is happening here right now. And what they're doing is we're having a bloodbath here in the market. Something bad. I mean, look at all the markets. It predicted every single one of them that we were topping in 26. And some of the big markets. So I encourage you to copy this. I encourage you. Encourage it, in fact. We took the picture the other day, remember? I screenshotted it so I could do this over and not ruin the original. So we had 23, right? We had 7 years from 2016 on the downtrend, and then 23 was the year to accumulate. And look what happened in 23 with crypto. And then there was a series of 3 years where you could find your buying areas. And in metals, it happened to be, you know, you could have bought it earlier too because they ended up having the boom and you would have had about the same pricing then as you did when it broke out. But you had 3 years up and now we're in 26. Now it's telling us we're not up to it. We're not going up to A. We're going through some pain, which means there's 6 years and this could be the flip of everything. U.S. loses its power. We call it the teabag era, apparently. That's the teabag era. Then it's going to be a series of up. That's why this was the transformation of wealth era, especially 26. You're either going to lose it or you're going to make it. There's no two ways about it. Unfortunately, retail lost it, missed out, lost it again, flipped over on sectors, missed out again, and now they're holding the bag. Just like in every other time in human history. It's scary when this starts happening because that means no avenue safe. And remember when they held rates the same, what I said? That is bearish for gold and silver initially. Not long term, but initially that's going to collapse it. It was so bearish for it. And then for crypto, it's even more bearish because even on 25 basis point rate cuts, like I said, when they kept it the same, if you think it's bearish on crypto for going 25 basis points, what happens when they hold it the same? Metals were basically banking on the fact that we were going to keep getting rate cuts. The fact that they held it out, yeah, I know PLG's retesting. I just don't necessarily think it's going to hold that personally. I think 258 is the big area that I think it's looking for. Maybe we'll get a bounce out of it right now, but I think it's going to look at 258 because that's where the head is actually made. So it's either a head or it's a real big back test. But you won't know if it's a head or not until it back tests the shoulder line, which I have a very clear shoulder that could be right here coming across all the way through. So if it does it again here, you really could have been building something. Or you could have said, the other scary part about this is now that this built, can I show you guys a scarier part with PLG? And I know we have the bullish angle because I have the bullish angle as well and we wrote it. But now we got to be bearish again like we've been for a couple days. If we come out here and we come out here and we do this and we just look objectively, MQ, what actually formed there? That we got the confirmation at $4, roughly. What could we honestly say formed there? And if it did, and I'm not saying it did, if it did, that also is another reason why you look at it and 258 becomes everything. Because if you fall outside of that, we're going to $1.37 more than likely. Unless it's just a fake out underneath. So I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that things are happening for a reason. And if I just line it up like this, and not everybody's going to, and like you can argue whether or not you want to do it like that, or if you want the rising wedge to come up. From my own standpoint, because of what we know, I would split this up, and I would probably come through the candle body, so that it wouldn't be as big of a target to the downside. That's just me. I would do it like that, and it eliminates some of the downward target. Otherwise, if we keep it fully expanded, it's going to open up every level to the significant worst case. I know, Tim, that's the exact thing. It's insanity. The stochastic, the RSI, it goes up a couple cents, and then it just So 258 right now, in my opinion, is everything. That or the first maybe 262, somewhere in that area. That's what I'm looking at. And if that breaks down, I mean, there's not much because now you're back within this pattern, and it would simply be a case of we broke out too early, we come back and retest. Not even at $1.37. That was the mid-tier point. The bottom of this is actually back to $1 if it came all the way back down. Do we think it's going to come down there? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Technically, if it broke down out of this and we had a measured move, and I'm going to redo the measurement and take that mid-tier point out so we can do it in real time. You can either do it from here to here because you're doing it at the widest part of the wedge. And then if it broke down, let's just say it broke down, I don't know, 262-ish. It's aiming at somewhere around, let me clone this. And that's where you get that $1.40 something. That's $1.46-ish. Let's put it up a little higher. $1.47, or it comes down to what I was talking about. The first drop, if it broke down, you go to the smaller part, and then you kind of do it from the breakout so you can get a micro level. That's what I always try to do with these little wedges, because then you can catch it from both directions and see where the first. So $1.47. So if 262 to so 258 to 262. If that broke, so 258 roughly. I'm measuring it from 262, but you have the validation at 258 in my opinion. Then all of a sudden you have a target coming down to $1.83. Obviously, the 200-day and the daily is going to be a target at approximately $2.10. It's going to have to be an area of concern, 212. But those are the technical breakdowns if it happens. And this is violent. These are violent. I talk about it all the time. Metals, the happiest thing in the world is when they're going up. It's a catastrophe. Yep, if below, leave it alone. Absolutely. Oh, I just had it in the hourly to show the setup, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. The daily, weekly, the weekly, technically, this could be a complete, man, it's interesting. It's very interesting. How is it possible that the 1 minute is that up high right now on PLG? That's the scariest shit. When you see the 1 minute RSI stochastic stay like that, that means every little buy order that comes in is creating such significant overinflation, even in the. That's crazy when it does stuff like that. Now we're retesting 5,000 for gold. It's so crazy how quick these sections do this. I've been watching these for decades. I just only got involved in them in the last decade for real, but I've been following this stuff for a long time. I used to tell myself, you don't have enough money to trade these sectors. How stupid was I? And now we have an Oscrodome for XRP. That's another thing. And it's not even on a weekday. It's on Sunday, let alone. So it's going to be interesting. But I'm XRP Future Millionaire. Would anybody like to come back and talk? If I put a live talk section on, maybe for a half hour or so we can talk. Get everybody's mental. We can talk about our emotional state, or we can talk about things that are happening. I would love to have a conversation with everybody. What I would do, I'd go take a piss. I'd make my protein shake for when I get done. And in about 10 minutes, I'd be back here or so. Because I think today would be a good day, especially for the court. Even if we get 50 people, be a good day to do this. I'm not asking you to come in and send a super chat, join Tom's Army, do anything like that. Because the last thing I want to do is take out of your pocket, especially on down days, unless you're gracious enough to do it. But that is not why I want you to come back. I want you to come back, and we could even have a smoke break maybe. But I want you to enjoy this with me. The good, the bad, because it's like when I played in sports and coached them, when I would lose a championship game, oh, it hurt. But I would watch the other team. I would stand there. And I would picture myself in the next time I was in this moment, because I will be back. And I'd say, this is what I'm going to do different. Even if I did nothing wrong at all, I would have better assets on my team. And damn well, I lost a football championship coaching as you guys know, just as recently as a couple years ago in flag football, something I never coached, went and did another team because they needed help. The kids wouldn't have been able to do a team. They're only like 10 and 11 years old. And I won the championship, went undefeated in the first season, which was awesome. That was my last coaching I ever did. That was in 2023. Yep, 23. On my birthday, December 17th, 2023, I won the championship. But that's not my favorite championship trophy. My son, when he was at school for Christmas, he picked this out from the workshop. This is my favorite trophy of all time. My son's autistic and nonverbal, but he picked this out. Number 1, Dad. He picked me out a trophy, and it's nice quality, too. It's beautiful. And he picked it out with football. It was awesome. And I keep it right here next to me because there's nothing I cherish more. I'm an assistant high school girls basketball coach. Excellent. Excellent. I used to coach basketball 2 decades ago. It's been a long time now, 15 years ago. I coached kids from middle school all the way until they were done at high school. The same kids. It was a nice 4 or 5 year run. Got a championship. Came in second a few times. I've won championships in baseball, basketball, and bowling individually when I used to play sports. And then I coached them championships in basketball and football. I never coached baseball, though. I should have. I was really good at baseball. And basketball, for that matter. I'm the white guy who can actually dribble really good and you wouldn't expect it. Oh, it was crazy. I'm a really good dribbler. I'm the guy who's going between the lanes, behind the back, doing all that stupid shit, making great passes. It was even funnier when I was real fat, but now in shape, it's not so funny. Anyhow, I want to